So this is Bobby, co-founder of CoinGecko. First of all, thank you very much, all of you, for joining us on the 10 CoinGecko virtual meetup. So for today, we also would like to announce that we are launching our next book. And this book is titled How to Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been, of course, we all know crypto space. Bitcoin has gone up a lot in price. This year it's gone up from up to close to $60,000. We saw billionaires like Elon Musk, Michael Saylor buying Bitcoin, $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. So a lot of you may be new to the crypto space, and we get a lot of new people coming to the space. We thought that it was about time that we write a book on Bitcoin and to share what we know on this. So a few of these guys have reviewed our book, and Matty Greenspan, founder Quantum Economics, said that Bitcoin might seem very complicated and to the uninitiated, and many it is, but this book really simplifies it. Nick Carey, co-founder at blockchain.com, says that it's not too early to Bitcoin. This book is a great introduction, and anyone can learn, whether you're a beginner or financial professional, and find out why crypto is the fastest growing asset class in the world. So I first got into Bitcoin in 2013, and I always knew that this was a revolutionary technology. It will change how the world operates, just like how the internet has changed how we kind of live our lives these days. I mean, 20 years ago, we would never have thought that all of us would be carrying a supercomputer at our palms, and we could kind of get onto Uber easily by just clicking on a button on our phones. So in this book, it's a very Bitcoin-centric book. So it talks about the history of Bitcoin and money, something about financial crisis, the financial alternatives, use cases of Bitcoin, anatomy of Bitcoin, what it's like, understanding blockchain technology, some stuff about mining. Talks about the history of Bitcoin, some of the key events like the Mt. Gox, Silk Road shutdown, block reward halving, New York Agreement, Lightning Network. And it talks about how you can kind of keep your Bitcoin safe. Talks a lot about public and private keys, wallets, risk, how you can get your first Bitcoin through exchanges, how you can store them safely on hardware wallets, and then some advanced topics on how to run a full node and using more advanced mobile wallet for more privacy-centric transactions like Samurai. Last part on the book is on Bitcoin improvements such as scalability, privacy, and so on. So for today, we are launching this book, and here you can kind of click on this link, lending.coingecko.com/howtobitcoin, and you click get your copy. It bring you to the page where you can buy it. It's $14.99. So have a read and share this with your friends. I guess without further ado, I don't want to spend too much time talking over here. I would like to pass on to my co-founder, TM Lee, for his fireside chat with our 3 honored guests on NFT, Andrew, Matty, and Mouse. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you very much.
So welcome to the 10th CoinGecko virtual meetup. And today we're going to do a little bit differently. We're hosting our meetup on a parallel universe at the CoinGecko headquarters on Decentral. Thanks to the folks at Decentral Games that really thank them for their hard work in putting off some of this headquarters and some of the goodies around there, which you can just go and explore when you have some time. Myself, I'm TM Lee. I'm the co-founder at CoinGecko, and I'll be moderating the panel today. The topic for today is about the Metaverse. And what exactly is the Metaverse? Is it this strange place that you discover strange things in this futuristic world that we would potentially like play, live, and work? And why is it so closely associated to the NFT and the crypto art community? In any case, we're going to learn everything about the Metaverse today with 3 great panelists here. We have, first up is Miles Anthony, who is the project lead at Decentral Games. And Decentral Games is a decentralized gaming platform currently focused at bringing the gaming experience to the Metaverse through Decentraland. You can experience the game by stepping into the portal near the headquarters and then experience it yourself. Next up, we have Matty, who is also known as DCL Blogger. Matty is an OG in the NFT space. He often shares tips and insights on his investment thesis in the NFT space and has been a forefront of development. So check out his Twitter for some nuggets if you like to. And finally, we have Andrew Steinwell, who is a managing partner at Sfermion. Sfermion is a investment firm that is focused on investing in the Metaverse. He also runs a newsletter and a podcast called Zima Raid, which I highly suggest everyone to check out if you want to follow and learn about NFTs. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Tian.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Right. So I guess we can start by jumping into the topic. Like, let's talk about Metaverse, right? The definition of Metaverse. When people talk about Metaverse, they start thinking about Ready Player One. Like, it has to be this virtual reality space that you could live, play, and work in such a way that you spend majority of your time there and maybe you start disconnect from the real world. But I also have the opinion that the metaverse could be this strange place like the early internet, where you could go to this faraway community that people get together and then start experiencing and sharing things together, which is not exactly VR, but it's more like a text-based website, or could be a game as well. So I guess like what exactly is the metaverse? And maybe we can start off by Miles Anthony to talk, and then we can go on to Matty and finally Andrew. Miles, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. So I say generally, when people think of metaverse, I think they just think of like a virtual, like public space online that's kind of three-dimensional, where you can experience things, play games, socialize with people. So it's pretty general, I would say, for most folks. But for people, building in the crypto metaverse, I would say we were just discussing this with Andrew. I would say it really depends, and is kind of built around this idea of ownership, and that's achieved through non-fungible tokens, so NFTs. And so I think that's very important because having property rights over the items that you accumulate in the games, or in the metaverse in general is very key to the overall experience, and it gives you kind of confidence in the time and money that you invest in the items in the game in general. So I would say, any public kind of open, permissionless space online where you can socialize with other, users, and then, have ownership over the assets that you use and accumulate would be, my definition of the metaverse.
Got it. Matty, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, I just totally agree with Miles. And just to add to that, I think we're building the infrastructure and the technology pieces, and NFTs being a big part of that, which can connect everything, right? When I think about the metaverse, I think about Ready Player One. I know people, OGs in the space, have read books, and that's where the philosophy side of things come from. But me, I never read those books. I just looked at Ready Player One and I was like, that's cool. But if you think of what that looks like in our real world, or how we're going to get there, it'll probably be multiple virtual worlds connected by NFTs, where you can take your NFT from world 1 and world 2. It can be your identity. You can take everything across, and you need to be able to transfer value across the worlds, right? And this is where NFTs and crypto and all that sort of self-ownership unlocks all these things. So I think we're building the infrastructure at the moment to enable that, and the visuals and all that will come into place when, in a matter of time, as more innovation comes in the space.
Got it. Andrew, what is metaverse in your definition? You've been watching this space for a while as well.
Yeah, so it's a pretty broad topic. Saying metaverse is kind of like saying internet. It's very, very broad. But for me, the metaverse is a virtual environment that you can live, work, and play in. And Miles hit the nail on the head when he was talking about property rights. And, I guess you can kind of consider Facebook part of the metaverse, Fortnite part of the metaverse, kind of. But the true metaverse, the true open metaverse, needs to have property rights. And that means using some sort of decentralized ledger system. So like NFTs, great example, because no one wants to live, work, and play inside of some world where they don't own their stuff. So if for example, the Soviet Union, no one wants to live in the Soviet Union. They want to go to some other country where they have property rights so they can, live out their lives and gain wealth and kind of, build their business or whatever. So for me, the metaverse, the true metaverse, means that you have to be using some sort of distributed ledger like a blockchain.
Got it. So it sounds like the common theme around here is property rights, decentralization, having true ownership of your items, right, in this metaverse. I guess it begs the question, like we can start to see like centralized company, game company, or even Facebook, they're launching their own metaverse. Like they have their, I think Facebook has a Horizon project, and then games like Fortnite is sort of like a metaverse that people are getting together to experience things together. I guess the question is, are we ready for a world that we truly own our item per se? Like, for example, like key management is an issue, right? If I lost my key, I'll lose my entire identity in the whole metaverse, all my items as well. So it's kind of like if you live in a country, you sort of like, the government sort of like ensures that all the rights are there, and if there's any problem, you can sort of like sort it out. But I think in this case, there's this concept of DAO, there's this concept of true ownership. But how do you see us getting to that state where people are generally ready to adopt such a thing? Like, do we need a inflection point in the real world that people start to move to such thing, or people start get comfortable with decentralized metaverse first before they move to the decentralized world? So just want to get your thought on that. I don't know, Andrew, do you have anything to mention for that?
Yeah, so I would just say that we're super, super, super early with this. Like, I don't know if anyone here have used like AOL back in like the 1990s. So that was like my first experience using the internet. Like when I was like surfing the web, it would take multiple minutes, maybe 10 to 15 minutes for me to actually get online. And then my mom couldn't use the phone because it was attached to the landline. It was like making weird noises and like freaking me out. And if I would open up an image, it would be like super slow. And so that's kind of the analogy that I like to use for where we are today by using, we have their private keys and we got to sign transactions and we got to send money and it's all kind of confusing and weird. So I'm very confident like these are problems that will be overcome. And it's going to take just time and effort for us to build better solutions. But in the future, we're just going to like enter this world, use blockchain. We won't even know it's blockchain. At the end of the day, it'll be adopted because people will be able to earn value from their activities online. And that's like the biggest incentive ever.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Matty, do you have anything to add to that?
I'll just definitely what Andrew said. And I think like, we are really early. And just in the concept of virtual worlds, we're really early. Like VR itself is just completely early. I'm not sure how many people think VR is really necessary to be part of the metaverse. I think we can all agree at some stage it'll definitely take our experience to the next level. But the fact that we can just stay on Twitter for like 12 hours a day, or just say plugged into looking at the internet, 16 hours a day, just socializing. And then we have this virtual layer where we can go in and socialize and maybe do some more things, like maybe have voice chat with people, transact value, transact NFTs and crypto. That's going to take it the next notch. And you are right, in a sense, like the broader crowd isn't ready to take on the security of that much wealth and manage the security of that much wealth themselves. I think that's a very scary concept to many. But the crypto crowd themselves are now pretty big. I mean, our own demographic is pretty massive, and people coming into this space are being educated on the importance of owning your own crypto and needing to be more decentralized instead of like, depending on centralized solutions. And Facebook has a bad vibe to it. And people have kind of accepted that, we don't want our data, even though they use it, they know there's something wrong about it. Like Facebook, the WhatsApp thing was a big thing where Facebook were like, we're going to start sharing data with WhatsApp, and a lot of people started to move to Signal. So people are starting to value more control over their own assets, whether that means data. But I think we are moving the right direction for people to eventually get to the strong value proposition that something like CryptoVoxels, Decentral, and these decentralized virtual platforms will have.
So I guess it's basically like NFT, maybe like 3 to 4 years ago, where it's very in its infancy stage, right? And then over time, people will start to see the value.
Well, I think if you look at the collectability and the art platforms, the ones that are going crazy, it's because they're very easy to build, relatively easy to build. When it comes to building the metaverse, or at least building on Decentral, I mean, you need thousands of dollars to build on your land, and you'll have to build compelling experiences that are monetizable. You need a lot more money, and you probably need collectively, millions of dollars to help fund the early kind of growth. So we need money, we need time to build that sort of stuff and have an attractive appeal to take it to that level where people look at this space and they think, wow, it's so matured. There's so much fun stuff to do there. So I like that analogy that we're kind of 2 years. It's similar to the NFT space when it first started.
Got it. And Miles, like you have chose Decentraland as the platform of choice to kick off DG. Like I'm sure you have seen like the vision of Decentraland over time. It could be a place where people come in and spend like most of their time over there to live, work, and play. But is key management something of a huge concern, assuming that it scales? I mean, based on the vision that you see where DG is going.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from the beginning, we've been tracking Decentraland since their token sale and their land auction. And the reason why we chose that platform to build on was because of the decentralized base, and the hosting of content is hosted on 12 different nodes. And we actually host one of them, so we're very familiar with the process. But I would say from our standpoint, the platform risk is lower when we're building on something that's decentralized, because we're not necessarily dependent on the team to perform in a lot of ways. If they don't, then we can pick up development. The code is open source. So from that standpoint, for us, it was less platform risk, and it allowed us to do what we needed to do. And then I'd say overall, what Andrew kind of hit it right on the head. It's like in terms of a place where you can live, work and play. We're really trying to make that happen. And I know, we've been building in the metaverse for quite a while, and it's still, a very nascent space. But I would say, we're finally getting to the point where, we're actually hiring people. We're hiring folks like to be inside of our casino right now. So like they actually have a legitimate job, and they have to clock in at a certain time and be and have a certain shift that they serve for 4 hours at a time, and we have like pretty much like managing like a real in world any shop or casino or whatever, but it's actually in the metaverse. So we're definitely pretty excited about this, and we'll be putting out some content to announce like this kind of milestone in the development of DG. But yeah, I think like Matty and Andrew both said, I think we're very early, and like you said, I think it's like kind of like the NFT space 2 years ago, and it definitely takes from my experience, it really takes a lot of niche development skill sets to kind of build compelling like content in the metaverse. From the 3D design for the scripting and the client to the server side, like game transactions, the blockchain transactions. There's a lot of different moving parts, and so it's definitely there's a lot more required to kind of build these experiences, but I think they're going to be more and more common as more and more people kind of invest time and effort into building it out.
Right. And currently, like for DG itself, the game, you can access it on a web browser, right? You can just go in and, even for right now, Decentral is not exactly VR supported yet. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like you can just use your browser and get in. And the thing about this is like democracy, right? I think like eventually, assuming that the Metaverse works and everyone needs a VR headset. And currently, VR headset is sort of like a luxury, right? Not everyone is able to afford one. It's seen as more like a toy. Do you foresee that it becomes like a mobile phone that everyone will have a VR headset to experience the metaverse, or it will be in a form that you can just experience it through your phone or your laptop? One reason why Axie Infinity is so successful is because people in Philippines, people in Indonesia could just use their laptop, their phone, and start going on a play-to-earn basis, right? They can start playing Axie and making some money, which is inherently kind of like a metaverse experience. Like they start to find themselves spending a lot of time there. But I'm not sure, like is the movement towards a VR metaverse a hard requirement, and would that democratize access to the economy in that metaverse?
I would say I don't think it's a requirement. I think it enhances the experience. I'm sorry you broke up. So I heard just like the parts of the question, but I think it was basically about VR and being a requirement. I would say it's definitely going to enhance the experience for some folks that have access to the hardware. But I think ultimately, it's really just about being like kind of in this public, shared like three-dimensional space online. And so how you experience that is really up to you. I mean, you could do it, in your laptop, on mobile, even on certain metaverses like crypto voxels. And so, in terms of Decentral, I know they have plans on doing VR, and I think that's going to be a really awesome experience and really take it, DG to the next level in terms of user experience. But I do think it's very important to have it accessible for everyone just through a web browser. And I know they're going to make a client as well to enhance the experience just on a actual like laptop or desktop computer. But yeah, I think like what you kind of touched upon, I think it's very important to just have it accessible to everyone, and have them kind of make the decision on which like medium they want to access it through.
Got it. Andrew or Matty, do you have anything to add to this regard?
Yeah, I think I don't think it's necessary to have a VR headset in order to like access the metaverse. For me, the metaverse is all about like optionality. So people have the option to access it through their phone, their computer, their VR headset, etc. I do think long-term VR is definitely the future, but again, it's like we're super early in that kind of technological paradigm as well. Like, if I love VR and I put on my headset, I can last like 20 minutes before I get sick, right? So it's like, we're still not there yet with that tech, but I do think over, next 5-10 years, it'll be super common. But again, it goes back to like optionality. Like the metaverse, you have the option to access it through any means, and also you have the option to go do whatever you want. So if I want to like go talk to Matty and chat with him in his DCL home, or go play, games at Decentral games at Miles' place, right? Like you have the option to do that, and you have the option to earn, spend, and do whatever you want. And that's what like it means to me.
I think it'll be a lot about convenience and time saving. Like, for example, the fact that you can just switch on your mobile phone and click an app and then start tweeting and communicating with hundreds of thousands of people potentially. That sort of ease of communication, and the fact that, you can go to a website or like crypto voxels from the mobile phone and it takes 5 seconds to load in. That will be, I think, the catalyst that will bring these to fruition, like those time savings, even shaving seconds off is a big deal. And then, virtual reality is great, but I think it'll be like an optional thing. But when I think far into the future, I can kind of envision us all in virtual reality. But until we can, type in virtual reality really quickly, we can communicate in virtual reality and to people without, taking it back off and messaging people, and we can kind of live in there, and the tools are built in there that we can start to do pretty much all the things we do without it. As efficiently, I don't think it's going to be a requirement, but it'll probably be something that will enhance the experience. But yeah, definitely not necessary, which I find surprising. I find it quite surprising that we're still using these virtual worlds as excitedly, even though they're not VR.
Right. I think it reminds us about the Ready Player One movie, where there are some people who have access to certain gears and then they get more immersive experience, and then some do not. But at the end, you still get the same end result. Like you still get to work, live, and play in that world. All right. So I think moving on a little bit, on recently, like crypto art has seen a huge surge of interest and momentum, right? And I think we should talk about crypto art because it's an NFT, and to some extent, it could be a building blocks towards true ownership of property rights, right, on the blockchain. So I guess like, why is it that the crypto art is the one that is taking off so much? And does it play in any role towards us getting closer towards the development of Metaverse? Right? You see people imagining that crypto art could be used to build museums and showcase it in some places. But are these things building blocks, and do you think it's going to introduce more experimentation towards getting closer towards how a Metaverse would ideally look like in the future? Or do you think this is just going to be a temporary thing that because people are just so excited about it? I mean, it just feels a little bit faulty, but just want to think like, what you guys think about this?
I think the art space is amazing. I think it was so necessary for a project, an industry like that to grow immensely, to give a use case for a virtual land, right? If you're spending millions of dollars on art, why wouldn't you spend $10,000 on a virtual land and build a gallery, right? You have art signaling it in a virtual world, or like if you hold a conference like we are doing in CoinGecko, maybe you can partner up with some artists to put an art on the wall if you're, getting like 500, 1,000 people there. So I think it is really necessary, but I think like it was so easy to build up a platform and start selling art, which are just images and GIFs on just the front end, but it's much easier to build a platform like that. But I think the next phase of this will be artists realizing, or the influencers realizing that, hey, we just sold a bunch of NFTs to our fan base. We can actually communicate with them. We can maybe start building a virtual club in Decentral, and people that have bought their art can enter that virtual club, right? And this is what Justin Blau did, and I thought it was amazing, where he made a club in Decentral, and you can only enter that club which plays non-released music if he had his art pieces that he dropped in Maker's Place. So you actually have this way of communicating with your collectors and giving them additional value without just continuing to release art. And I think that will come in the next phase of the whole NFT space, when people realize there's so much utility and tech that can be kind of driven into the space. I'm excited for that for sure.
Makes sense. So on that note, right, like the problem with the crypto art, with the museum and showcasing, it does feel a bit skeuomorphic. Like, for example, if you think about internet in the early days, we newspaper companies starts putting the entire newspaper in a PDF form onto a web page, right? And obviously that's not a good reading experience. Fast forward today, and then people start to imagining like, if I have a piece of art which is completely digital, like it's a new form of art that's validated on the blockchain, and then I want to build a museum on the virtual land and start showcasing my art over there. Like, is that the best experience to showcase art and experience art that's in a new form that we have not seen before? Or it will be something else completely that is much more efficient, right? Because the difference here right now is that people are saying that all this digital art could be copied and pasted, which it's an argument for another day. But it does feel that it's a very different form of asset class that maybe deserve a different form of showcasing. Just like if you look at photographs right now, you spend most of the time on Instagram rather than a photo album that is owned by someone. So is skeuomorphism a problem in the metaverse, where we just try to recreate everything that we are familiar with in the physical world in the metaverse world? Yeah. So I think Miles may have some thoughts on that with the creation of the casino in the game, but I'm sure most of you have thought about that too. But maybe Miles, you want to go ahead and have any point on that?
Yeah. So you want me to kind of touch upon in terms of like the issue with taking like a art piece in Metaverse and just like showcasing it, or?
Yeah, would that be an issue, or is that going to be the experience that that is most ideal for this new form of asset?
Oh no, I think it's definitely ideal. I mean, so far we have a few pieces on display, and I think it's a great kind of utility for the art that I've been collecting so far. I'm not a huge art collector. I have just a handful of pieces, and I've been getting more into it lately. But yeah, I think it's definitely something that folks are like proud to do, and be able to display it to their network and their friends. And one of the members of my community actually reached out to me to display his punk on the wall. It's like a huge. We blew it up kind of big on the wall in the casino, and it's like just staring at everyone when they're playing the games and stuff. It's pretty funny, and it just yields like so much respect because it's like one of the 8 punks. And so yeah, I think people definitely that own these NFTs definitely enjoy putting it up in the metaverse, and I think it'll just continue to happen and become even more and more common. And we've actually done a few different events as well, like to auction them off. And I think that's going to be even bigger because that's a whole different kind of experience than as opposed to just having the auction like on OpenSea or like a 2D website, being kind of experiencing the auction in a live like 3D setting with a bunch of other people and like socializing with them. It's pretty fun and has a cool vibe. And I think it's actually been very, very, very popular amongst our community. And we've just done a few auctions so far. So yeah, I think in terms of just displaying the actual NFT in Metaverse, I think it's just the beginning of that. I think it's definitely going to be a trend that that keeps growing, as the space progresses.
Yeah, I think level one for kind of what you do with your NFT art is OpenSea. They're kind of looking at someone's wallet, and that's kind of like the Instagram where you're just scrolling through someone's wallet, seeing their assets, and that's like the first layer or level. And level 2 is kind of displaying it inside, these builds and like Decentral games, and that's kind of more deeper and more immersive experience. And then level 3, I mean, I have no idea what level 3 is going to look like, but there's no way that we're just kind of stopping it there. Like maybe you're going to be able to exist or have a build in some virtual world that like is your art piece somehow, and like you're able to walk around it or do stuff with it. Like crazy applications that I don't even know like what's possible. But I mean that's what's so cool about having art that's digital is that you can kind of program it to do whatever and add stuff to it. So I think that we're like just scratching the surface for what's possible today.
Right. So definitely as more people jump in, more people start to play with it, then there's going to be like back and forth feedback, and we start to discover new use cases and untap more and more stuff. I think like right now, I mean, if you think about NFT, like 2 to 3 years ago, it was just a basic metadata, and then now you start to have projects that you could put in dollars into your NFT, and then your NFT could do more. You could stake it for something else. So I think definitely heading towards the direction. But I also wanted to raise that as more people come into the space, scalability is going to be a huge issue, and I think for the longest time we thought that Ethereum will be the main chain that allows all this NFT experimentation to take place. But because of DeFi and all the other things, the network has gotten very congested. That is going to be very expensive for an artist to mint their NFT, for instance, or even to deploy a contract that relates to NFT for developers. So this brings us closer to the need for scaling solutions in other chains like side chains, layer 2, or other dedicated blockchain like Flow. In your opinion, do you think the multi-chain world is an inevitable future for the metaverse and NFT? And would there be any issue? Because it's going to be very difficult to track. And I'm not too sure if, for example, if you take a CryptoPunk and you lock it up in a Ethereum contract and you issue it on another chain, say on Matty or Flow or whatever, would that introduce an issue in terms of unique asset? Because right now you're locking it up, but essentially you are creating another asset on the other side. So things can get more and more complex, but I'm not sure if folks in the NFT space actually think about what would the multi-chain world look like, and would that be how would that experience will also be like for the metaverse?
I think it's more important to just look at like how people would use it, because when the space becomes massive, there's going to be like 1% nerds like us that care about the tech, right? And then there's going to be 99% of people that will come in and use it regardless of what chain it is. So if they can take their punk from one world to another world, and if that's on separate chains, and they can do that seamlessly, which looks like the bridging and the seamlessness is becoming a thing now, and that's creating like the next wave of people to come in. If they can do that, then it's not going to matter how it looks like on the tech side of things. And I get your point, TM, that here you are creating a new asset because you're kind of wrapping it into something, but that's, you're creating a new token effectively. But if that's the tech solution that needs to happen for you to move that asset across, and on the front side, it feels seamless, then I think that's the way it'll go. And I think that'll be fine. Yeah. As long as like that token,
doesn't get unlocked from the contract.
Yeah. It doesn't get unlocked. Like that's pegged to that original NFT, the ERC 721. Like it's only interchangeable with that 1-to-1, and you can't like unlock that and have suddenly 2 tokens. Yeah.
Yeah. You start to get complicated with the inception, right? I mean, like you can wrap it up on there and then wrap it back and bring it back again. And then you start to have, I mean, weird things can happen, but yeah, I mean, that is just something that will happen. I think, Andrew, like you mentioned, you wanted to add something over there?
No, I think we're still at the stage where we're not sure. Like, we don't know if Flow is going to win, if Ethereum is going to win, if Matic / Polygon, is that the new name? Polygon? Miles would know. We don't know like who's going to win. Because there are some serious issues with Ethereum, obviously, and the gas prices. But Ethereum has this huge network effect and this huge ecosystem already. And so, are people going to just build bridges, as you mentioned before, or kind of what's the solution here? But then Matty's also right when he talks about like most people do not care. Like most people are like water, where like you pour water down a path and they're going to take the easiest path. Like they don't mind. So I think at the end of the day, like whatever is easiest is probably what wins out. Even if we 1% nerds like don't like that solution the best. That's just kind of the reality of the situation.
I think the draw is more important than the change. For example, Street Fighter. All my friends loved that, right? They jumped to buy stuff on Wax because it was Street Fighter, and that's great because it shouldn't matter what chain it's on. It's about like what product are you delivering and what nostalgia and collectability value and fun value are you creating. And that I'm realizing that's going to be the dominant thing. Like, see, all the people ran to Flow to participate in NBA Top Shot because it was a licensed product. They didn't care that it was not on Ethereum. Well, a lot of them did, but it still was able to pull in like $50 million a day at its max peak. So it's coming to a point where chains don't matter, but you got to respect that some exist. But at the end of the day, if chains can go out and onboard multiple IPs and build great products and keep the stability, then yeah, it's not going to matter how it works on the back end, more on the front end.
Got it. Yeah, I guess it's a slippery slope also, assuming that new chains popped up, and although they could be easy to use and fast, but I think based on what we discussed earlier, like true property ownership is one of the key attributes for a metaverse, right? So we just got to assume, we got to make sure that the new chains are decentralized enough, despite all the benefits that we get and all the simplicity and convenience. I think Miles, like you use Polygon Matic for I think for payments or transaction. But is there a reason, any other reason why you're using Matic aside from that? I did see some NFT projects using XDAI as well to issue some NFT there at affordable cost. I think we're using that internally at CoinGecko, where we issue an XDAI NFT and then the users can claim it whenever they want to when the gas fee is cheap to finalize it on Ethereum. Just want to run through your thought process in terms of development at DG. Any other chains that you're thinking of, or is Matic the one that you're going to spend most of your time with?
Yeah, so we've been building on Matic from the beginning, and we really like the process was very simple, just because they pretty much just recreated the development experience on Ethereum on Matic, and so deploying contracts is like exactly the same. It's EVM equipped. It's just faster and cheaper. And so, so for us, like we're pretty happy with Matic, and the gas costs are like very, very cheap. And for us, it's very important that the gas costs are cheap because we abstract it from the user. So we actually pay for every in-game transaction through a meta transaction from our DG wallet instead of having the user pay it. And I think this is kind of ultimately a much better user experience. And so I would say from our standpoint, we're not really looking to port over to another chain. I would say, to continue the conversation you guys were having, the only real reason when you would have to kind of bridge an asset from one chain to another, I think, is if you're trying to take one NFT to another marketplace. In our case, our NFTs, like we have wearable NFTs, they're Decentral and wearables, and they give a bonus for the DG mining, like through the gameplay. We don't necessarily need any on-chain transactions of the NFTs. So in our case, the NFTs live on Ethereum by default, but then our game transactions are on Matic. And so it's fine to have the assets live on Ethereum and then the game transactions on Matic because it's tied to the same Ethereum address. And so in our case, we don't actually have to move the NFTs to Matic. They're just mainly just sitting on Ethereum just to show ownership. And then, so I guess the only real reason a user would have to actually move it to another chain or move it to Matic is if they wanted to like trade it for cheaper. But then again, to actually deposit it to another chain to bridge the asset, you'd have to sign a transaction or create a transaction, which would be expensive. So it's kind of like the catch-22. They just, they're kind of just like, there's like a lot of inertia of moving NFTs to another chain. So, yeah, I would say over time, in terms of game assets, unless the game is around actually trading the NFT, and the NFT changing ownership, if the NFT is just kind of like sitting in the owner's custody and being used in a game, it doesn't necessarily need to be on a different chain. It can kind of be bridged by just keeping the actual NFT on the original chain.
Right. So moving on to another topic that's a little bit of a switch gear here on the financialization aspect of the metaverse. We talk about live and work, right? And I think Miles, you mentioned that you're able to get people to come in and work at the Digiland at the casino, and then you get to pay them as well from your treasury or some form. So when DeFi came out, it does almost feel like the building blocks towards the metaverse. Like finally, you don't need to depend on a centralized entity to do trading or lending or even get insurance. So is there any DeFi project that excites you, which you think are closely related to the building blocks of the metaverse? Like if you look at XC Infinity, I think they have sort of like evolved and able to introduce that play to earn element. That same is true for Digi's case, that you can do a mining when you're playing the games over there. So I guess like these are to some extent related to DeFi. And would have the metaverse worked out well if DeFi wasn't heavily adopted last year during the DeFi summer? Like if nobody ended up using Compound, nobody ended up using Uniswap, everybody just continued to use the centralized services, will we still have this discussion here or not? That is the question, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. I'm not sure. To be honest, I don't know if I would like to think that NFTs would have caught on without the DeFi summer. But my theory is that after the DeFi summer kind of started to taper off a bit, people were looking for the next 100x gains, and they came into the DeFi space, the NFT space, looking for those gains, and they quickly realized that this is not really. It's very difficult to get kind of immediate gains because of the lack of liquidity in the NFT space. But luckily for us, they've kind of found this whole cool ecosystem of like collectibles, art, virtual land, the games, and I think a lot of them kind of hooked onto it. And I really attribute the DeFi summer to the growth probably of NFTs. But yeah, that's my theory anyways.
Matty, you have anything to add?
No, I agree. I remember looking at the graph where we saw like that kind of parabolic kind of move of like how much liquidity was being pulled in Uniswap, and like when the DeFi kind of exploded, it was kind of the same time when art and NFT awareness also exploded. So I think as people downloaded and installed the tools like MetaMask and realized, hey, we can start to integrate, we can use these Web3 websites and do all sorts of stuff. We can stake, we can buy some NFTs, and that's where I think the DeFi crowd, and I know NFTs and DeFi is pretty much the same thing, but like the traditional DeFi people and NFTs kind of crossed over, and we had products like Meme come out and cross over multiple things that can be done. And now I'm talking to quite a few DeFi people, and they're like, yeah, like NFTs is definitely going to be a big focus for us. We're going to show data about it. We're going to integrate it here. We're going to integrate it there. And I think that's great because they bring a lot of that utility aspect to it. And I think that started off the first wave, but NBA Top Shots would have been big whether or not that happened anyway, in my opinion. Right. So yeah, I think it was a bonus. It was a bonus, but we still had some really strong bridges and mainstream products being built in the meantime, like Nifty Gateway and Art and NBA Top Shot.
Right. I guess like for NBA Top Shot and Nifty Gateway, it really bridges the mainstream people to come in because they can use the credit card and just get into the space. Whereas I think the DeFi side kind of appeals to the crypto native folks as well. It makes it seamless and easy for them to get into the space. So I guess like for DG's case, I think you guys did the liquidity mining as well when you guys started off. and that's also based on the concept of DeFi. Would you think that that concept itself allows you to bootstrap decentral games in the way that you think is best? Like if nobody sort of like adopt liquidity mining, like how would you launch DG, and would it be very different from that?
I would say the DG kind of ecosystem and architecture was definitely like highly inspired by DeFi. I didn't design the coin and didn't write the paper until after or midway through the DeFi summer. And it was really looking at projects like Yearn and Uniswap, Curve, to name a few, just looking at the way that they manage their DAO and manage their treasury was really what inspired DG. And so kind of building DG around like a community governed treasury, I don't think that would have happened unless DeFi existed. And then also, just compensating the users of your product or whatever it is. In terms of, in a DeFi's case, it's the liquidity providers. So obviously, providing rewards for them makes sense because you want them to have a say in the ecosystem, development in the future. And so in our case, we wanted to factor in rewards for the players. And so we actually allocated a massive chunk of our tokens for gameplay rewards. So yeah, I would say, in our case, it's kind of twofold. We wanted to have ample liquidity for trading. And so that's why we did the liquidity rewards, but also, balance it with, giving tokens to the actual players. And so, yeah, I think this whole, architecture never would have been possible unless, seeing the DeFi architectures.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of things to learn between the two space, as you guys highlighted. And I think one of the points was raised was also regards to liquidity. I think a year ago, the liquidity for all these NFTs it's really difficult to sell a decentral land. You got to wait weeks or even months for someone to pick up your the bits that you put in there. Same is true for the CryptoPunks. But these days you start to see, of course, because of the frothiness, people are just trading it every day. And to some extent, the valuation has gone sky high that you could use it as a collateral. And I think there are a couple of services out there that you could collateralize your NFT to draw dollars out there. And then I think there are projects that allows you to lock up your NFT in a smart contract and then tokenize it into ERC20 to make it fungible. So I guess do you think that liquidity has gotten a lot better now with all these services that allows you to fractionalize your NFT? And assuming that if we get out of all this craziness and the market calms down a little bit, do you think liquidity will continue to be a problem like before? Because right now people are trading it in to speculate the market, right? But when that music stops, do you think the DeFi aspect of it, with you're able to index your NFT, will sort of pick up where we left off to keep the market healthy for NFT?
Yeah, no, I think it will, because there definitely will be some sort of a pullback. But I think we're kind of used to the crypto cycles and the crypto movements. We're used to things going up and falling back drastically. This 4-year cycles, we're used to that. We're used to liquidity slowing down and that leading to a drop in prices. We're used to people having very short attention spans because that's how crypto industry are. It's predominantly investors or, gamblers that just throw money at the next kind of hype coin. But now we're breaking into a new sort of emotion and a new sort of crowd where they're not crypto native. They want to collect, they want to hold, they want to talk about, they want to show. So it's all right, so the crypto markets will move up and down. Maybe Bitcoin will tank. But by that time, will we have that much mainstream penetration where it doesn't matter, right? Will there be enough traditional fiat money into this that are not coming from a crypto swing background to sustain and grow the industry, regardless of Bitcoin going back to 20,000, right? So I find that quite interesting. And I also think it's really cool how, like you said, tools are being built to extract more liquidity, like ERC20, fractionalization projects and all that sort of stuff. And I think that coupled by, if we can kind of have these mainstream products where there's not just Top Shots, there's not just Nifty Gateway, there's 10 to 15, 20, 30 projects out there doing insane volume just because NFTs are such a big thing, then I think, we'll disconnect from the crypto market. So that's an interesting thing. And I know that's a very out there thought because it's never been done before, but I think I think NFTs is going to be it. I mean, NBA Top Shot, I don't know how much that'll be affected by crypto going back down. I don't think it will.
Andrew, you have something to add? I saw earlier.
Yeah, so I would say that I do think that if the crypto markets go down, we're going to see trading activity in NFTs significantly drop for sure. But then after the dust settles, because anytime there's periods of high volatility in crypto, the NFT trading kind of slows down because people are either readjusting their sales prices or kind of readjusting their entry prices for buying certain assets. But then once the dust settles, the activity continues. And the reason being, I think, is because crypto and DeFi, the objective is to make more money. It's purely a money game, right? It's just numbers. With NFTs, there's like a social aspect, there's a fun aspect, there's a collector's aspect. There's all these kind of different motivations for buying and selling NFTs. So like with Decentral games, like you can go in there, you can gamble, have fun, you can meet people, it's social, go to events. It's like, those are way more like human things than staring at a number on a screen, right? And I think because of those reasons, sure, if there's a crypto crash, yeah, activity will slow down. But overall, I think people have just different motivations for being involved with the NFT space. Therefore, trading activity will continue semi-normal. I mean, people will have less money to spend, but overall, it should continue at a pretty good pace.
Got it. Like Miles, do you see that as a potential issue? Like, will people stop playing Decentraland, or it has pretty much crafted a niche on its own that gamers are just there to have fun, and it doesn't matter where the market is going, regardless?
Yeah, I think Matty and Andrew both touched upon it pretty well. I would say like NFTs, it attracts a lot of speculators, obviously, and it's addicting to speculate on things, and when in a bull market especially, it's very engaging. But I would say as the dust settles, if a crash happens in the NFT space, like there still are products and there still are items, and there still are games that people can play, regardless of if the token price or the NFT is worth like $1 million or worth nothing. And so because of that, I think there will be still users that stick around and actually use the product. Obviously, the hype will be less. Like Andrew kind of touched upon, I think the trading will definitely go down quite a bit, but the underlying asset and the underlying game and product will still be there. So I think the community it won't go away completely. Whereas if a coin goes to zero, and it's the crypto is pretty much done. So I feel like that's kind of the differentiating factor, I believe. And I think it's inevitable, crypto will have cycles, but I think, NFTs, I think are definitely here to stay because of that, aspect.
Got it. I'm going to probably just ask one more question here before I move to a Q&A. I think there are a couple of Q&A that comes in from the guests, but I guess the last question from my side will be with regards to regulation. So obviously in the DeFi side, regulation is not, something that people are keeping an eye on. Just in case, if it does come. But I think for the NFT space, because it's really new, and also for the Metaverse specifically, we don't know how this will be like. I guess like the key question to ask is, how will regulation look like with regards to the Metaverse? Because if you look at most of the NFT releases right now, some of them do this gacha style release. And I think gacha has some sort of a bad connotation in some countries. The government starts to step in because people get addicted to the gambling aspect of it. And then what about vices that happen in the Metaverse? Like, what if people misbehave? I think right now, if you play like Animal Crossing, if you play like some games, if there are bad actors in there, you just report to the game company, and then they will use their terms of use to govern the whole behavior of the players in the game. But in this Metaverse, like it could be a wild west that people just they could do whatever they want, and there's no rules or stuff like that. I don't know, maybe there could be a DAO or something, but not sure if that's something that you guys have thought of when you think about the future of the Metaverse. Andrew, maybe you want to go ahead first.
Yeah, so this is kind of, a controversial topic, just because, I'm of the opinion that especially with a new technological paradigm, which is what we're entering now, you can't have so many rules. Like, we need to experiment. We need to figure out what's going on. We need to throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks. And by implementing all these rules from the get-go, or like pretty early on, you're stifling innovation. I mean, we see that in the United States now. The United States is totally overbearing in terms of a lot of regulatory issues, whether it be crypto or unrelated to crypto. But and it's, in my opinion, is stifling a lot of innovation. And yeah, I mean, for example, Miles, he's American, doesn't live in America, right? Matty's in Australia, so I think the situation over there is probably better in terms of just being able to innovate. So I don't know. I do think that there will be some sketchy and bad actors for sure, like there always are. But we can't let this small minority, less than 1% of people, kind of dictate the innovation that should happen in the space. I think that would be a shame. So I'm of the opinion, let's let it ride. And, if it turns into a very serious problem, we can combat it. But other than that, most people in the world are good. So let's just let them do what they want and build stuff.
Yeah, no, I think regulations is something I don't think about much, as long as I'm doing something that's legal in my country. But I think it's just too hard for regulators to keep up with this space, to be honest, because if the people in the forefront that are actively participating can't even keep up, I'm not sure how they can continue to provide rules and a framework when there's just so much innovation happening, especially financially. I don't know. I honestly don't think about regulations and how it can affect. I think it'll come in and it'll affect certain things and maybe switch things up. But the decentralized nature of this is that someone can just pop up it's like trying to shut down like a video streaming site, right? You shut it down, but there's just going to be a new one that pops up and does the exact same thing that everyone else is going to find.
Own rules.
Yeah. I guess that's the whole concept of decentralization and blockchain, is that to kind of extract there and be your own regulators collectively.
Right. Which brings back to maybe the concept of a DAO, right? Getting a collective group of people, setting up a colony, and then set their own rules, and then you just end up splitting from then onwards. Yeah.
I wonder if there'll be a big fracture in the government, just because financially, if Bitcoin really does absorb all the fiat stuff, and I don't know, it looks like there could be like some sort of flippening. I don't know how crazy that'll look like. I know it's really hard to think about, but who knows how the governments will be after all of this in the next 2-3 years, right? It just feels like nothing's going their way and everything's going the way of people power.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting topic for another time, right? I mean, it's more, So, okay, Miles, do you have anything to add with regards to this? And then we can move on to I'll just pick some Q&A from the audience.
Yeah, I think to touch upon what you said, TM, I think just like a DAO, governed system is probably the best way of doing things, because obviously in the long term, you need to have some type of, voice of reason that represents the people that are part of the community. And so, but I do think that Andrew's completely correct in making a lot of rules at this point in time, because the space is so nascent, is just the wrong, thing to do. Because it'll just stifle innovation. So yeah, I think I know Decentral has a DAO. I don't know if they haven't really had to deal with anything horrible yet, thankfully. But if they do have to do something like that or deal with something like that, then I'm sure that the DAO and a combination of the DAO and the team will kind of figure out a best way of solving that issue. But yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Andrew in that we should just let people do what they want in terms of innovation, and if there are some bad actors, then hopefully a DAO type of system will be able to deal with it.
Got it. I'm going to take one question from the guest here. So I think one of it here is that I'm sure you guys will have a reason for this, but the question is more like, do you think the segment of NFT and games it's more like a one-off thing? Like right now, we're seeing a huge surge of big brands pouring into the space, looking to adopt NFT or blockchain to some capacity. I'm just trying to rephrase this question a little bit. Like, I think it's more like, is it a flash on the pan? Because if you think about in 2017 or 2018, big companies come into blockchain for most likely the wrong reason, right? They don't know how to use blockchain exactly, but they're just saying like, yeah, we're going to use blockchain for some reason, right? Issue tokens and then do a reverse ICO, but that's not the best use case of the blockchain for this like large company. And now we're starting to see big brands, issuing NFTs. It could almost feel like they're just jumping onto the bandwagon. Do you think that this is sort of like a one-off thing, or it will start to set the tone for something much bigger, or this is going to be sustainable over time? Yeah, it's more of a general question, I would say. it's open to the floor if anybody wants to take it.
Yeah, I'd say first of all, I want our NFT community to welcome everybody. Like first and foremost, like everyone should be able to come and kind of build stuff and kind of enjoy it and try things out. But also at the same time, I'm very bullish and excited, or I'm more bullish and excited about products that are like metaverse native or like native to this NFT paradigm, the technological paradigm. Because what I've experienced so far is that people with traditional IP, so let's just pretend like we'll just use like baseball, right? So they come in with their baseball IP that they license or whatever, and they sell their baseball cards. Let's just pretend, and like there's not a great follow through, and they're not really integrating themselves into the community. They're kind of like tourists, like they kind of come in, they sell their stuff, and because it has a good name, people buy it. But then after that, there's no real like follow through. And metaverse native stuff, products that are native to the NFT paradigm, they have to innovate, they have to perform very well, and they have to do interesting stuff in order to compete, because they're competing with their IP is unknown. And so they have to be above and beyond better than their competitors because they have no choice. And so that's why for me, I always feel like the coolest stuff and the stuff that I love to support is like native to our space, and the people that are native to our space that are not the tourists that are here for the long term. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I've had quite a lot of conversations with like companies, mainstream companies that want to do things in projects like Decentral or projects that I'm connected to. And the normal people would assume, the big corporate companies coming in to do big things and they're just going to cash grab and patent stuff. But they understand the decentralized culture, like they're a part of the metaverse. They're a part of the public that can participate and build products. They're just more organized and they're more older. There'll definitely be some that come and cash grab, but there will also be some that will come and provide value because that's what they've done for years or decades. And I think the latter is what we should be looking for. And I think we should be welcoming, this is not for anyone to gatekeep. It's for anyone to come in and do whatever. And if they're a part of this and they're building a beautiful experience and providing value for the community, why not?
Yep. Definitely. I think like one of the key questions is also like when big brands comes in, they offer their IP. Like, would the IP actually expire? And when that happens, what happened to the NFTs by itself, like the videos, the graphics? I don't know. I never really researched too much about how these big brands arrange with some of these companies, but something definitely to ask ourselves, I believe. Okay. I'll move on to another question I'm going to take from the audience. So this is more of a general question. Any sort of upcoming projects related to NFT or blockchain games that you guys are excited or looking forward to? Maybe start with Miles, and then we go with Andrew and Matty.
Like just in general, just
general. Yeah, it came from Ken. Just a general question: what projects are you looking forward to seeing NFT in NFT space or in the gaming space?
Miles has just been looking at Uniswap coins.
Yeah. I'll let you guys go ahead, Matty. I'm sure you can answer this one better.
No.
I'll think about it. Yeah.
Doing the same thing, man. Just looking at what's the next thing to DJ into. But I think there's some cool games. I think Illuvium is a really cool game coming out on Immutable X. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of that. I know Ember Sword looks like a cool game coming out. I'm really excited for the game side of this to mature, because who doesn't like gaming? Like, who doesn't like going in there with your squad and, doing all sorts of fun stuff, and you can get NFTs and pull them back out and put them into Decentral. And I reckon it's just going to be so sick. NFT projects, I think there's some projects that are really exploring like music as NFTs. And I think that'll be a huge wave, because that's a underserved community in general as well, not just the artists that paint. I don't think there's any other virtual worlds, but I'm excited for what we build on Decentraland. I'm excited for what we build on CryptoVoxels. I think a lot of the early investors are becoming quite wealthy, and the community is becoming strong, and the platforms are becoming robust. And technically, you can do a lot of stuff there. And I think that next wave of innovation, we might see like hundreds of games across multiple virtual platforms. And I've got a really cool product that I'll be releasing in the next 48 hours, which will combine and kind of allow everyone to interact with everything. So I think I'm going to try accelerate the space, and there's going to be a lot more people that will try and accelerate the space. And I'm really excited for what sort of stuff is built on that. Yeah.
Hey, tell us, Matty.
I can't.
Yeah. What is it? You can't leak it. Come on, you got to tell us.
I can't. It's just going to be epic.
48 hours.
Oh man.
All I'm going to say is one NFT, 1,000 use cases. That's it.
Ooh, cool.
Oh, interoperability.
That's it, man. That's what we got to do.
That's
I'd say
awesome.
TM one project that I've been kind of watching closely more recently in the NFT space and Metaverse in general is Zed. They've been they have like horse races, NFTs, and I know that they are releasing some stuff pretty soon here. But other than that, yeah, I haven't really been building. Don't really have too much eyes on the market for NFTs.
Yeah, I'd say besides Miles's project, which is awesome and everyone should go check it out. I would say there's some really cool collectible projects coming out. And then also Webaverse, which is a new virtual world project that's coming out that is super cool because they're trying to like enable NFTs to be operable in world, meaning that like bring your axes in the world and like you actually use them in the world. And it's kind of bringing the NFTs into kind of a more immersive environment. And that's going to be really, really exciting. So I'd say that's what I'm excited for.
There's another really cool project. It's a big one. It's called Genies. I'm not sure if you guys have heard or seen much of this, but Genies is really cool. Yeah, the avatar one. So I think they're going to be like virtual avatars that you can kind of dress up and stuff and hook into celebrities, and celebrities will sell like Gucci watches and Gucci like bags and stuff. And I think it's just going to be like interesting to see how normies react to the NFT space and how they value and trade amongst each other. But they've got like DJ Khaled, they've got like Justin Bieber, they've got some really big names. They just recently did Mesut Ozil, so I think they'll open up like sports people to come in. And I think it's going to be epic.
Yeah, I think the great thing about the current excitement of NFT is the experimentation, right? Like people just trying things out on the native side or together with big brands, and we'll start to push the frontier and start to open up new use cases, which I think is really exciting. So we'll definitely want to watch this space, everyone. And of course, like follow all these great guys on Twitter. You know, they always like share like the latest stuff. All right, so I guess like that's all we have. We've almost hit the 1 hour mark. So yeah, we also recently launched a book called How to Bitcoin. If you already know what Bitcoin is, it doesn't hurt to just claim it and just share it with your friends and family who want to learn everything about Bitcoin. And of course, special thank you to all the speakers here, Miles, Andrew, and Matty. It's been a really good talking about the Metaverse and NFT with you guys. And thank you for sharing your thoughts and insights. And I look forward to seeing you all again, and take care, everyone.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jam.
Thanks, Jam.
Take care.
Thanks, Jam.